Right guys, well, I thought it would be nice to take an opportunity to have a look at Raptor in detail, and more importantly actually splicing Raptor. We have actually looked at the gravel one before, and what I'm about to tell you will translate to both materials, but with the green one in particular, which is actually a newer material, and to be honest with you is probably going to suit a lot of us UK anglers better than the gravel one, purely because we do like a softer material, and this is actually more supple than the original gravel one. They both have fantastic abrasion resistance qualities. They're both very, very strong, but with the green one in particular, it's actually a little bit smoother, so the material itself is smoother. What does that mean? Well, you know, similar to the gravel one, they are both very, very abrasion resistant. So you've got a very, very tight weave and a very, very smooth profile. What that means is, you know, yes, it's £60, but you know, you'd have a job if that was £15, just under a bent rod. You'd have a real job to break it. The key thing is its abrasion resistance. Now, for the best abrasion resistance material in the world and the strongest material in the world, it is only ever going to be as strong as its weakest part. So if that's rigs, it's a knot, and if that's leaders, it is a splice. You know, so if our splice isn't up to the job, then you are drastically reducing at what that stuff will break at, i.e. the splice will pull out at. What we're looking for with Raptor is a minimum. More so with the green. Like, I wouldn't recommend going under 45mm with either, but definitely not with the green one. So, you know, we are looking for a 45 to 60mm splice. So to do that, first of all, we've got to measure. Well, let's have a look at the needle first, shall we? So the needle itself, you can see there, goes up to 55mm. All right. So what that basically means is we've got to get a splice roughly the same size. We've got to take this material and cover the needle with the Raptor. Okay, so we'll do that now. And actually, I'm going to have a look at how long we need to measure it to actually go in with the needle. So I would say between 120 and 130 millimeters. I'm going to go in at 130 mil. You know, aka 13 centimeters. And to do that, what we're going to do is so on the needle, I've got the latch open, and excuse the state of my fingers, I've been working with materials all day. I've got the latch open, and you've got a point there that's grabbing me, if you can see that. So I'm going to take the point and put it in at around about 30, at around about 130 mil. Just double check that. Yeah. So that's in. Then I'm going to turn the material around, and I think this is an important bit. Once you turn that material around, it almost pushes the point up into the material. Now, with any thin material, whether that's your chosen material that you're splicing, you know, from other companies, or whether it's Katran's Raptor, resist the temptation to push the needle up the material. Always think about pushing the material on. So as you can see here, I'm pushing down on the material, and it's just gliding over that needle. If it bunches up a bit, just take the bunch out and then just keep going. Slow and steady 100% wins the race when you're splicing thin materials. Okay, so there we go. We've got the needle now covered, which will give us around about between a 50 and 60 mil splice. So as I'm sure a lot of you know, now it's just a case of popping that needle out. And a really, really important thing, when you grab this to create your splice, make sure you don't have a big tag end sticking out, because if you do, you've then got to pull that through. That is how needles get snapped. Okay, so I'm going to get it as close to the end as I can, pinch it, and then I'm going to tease this up to hold it in place. Now that actually isn't going anywhere, and that should enable me to quite easily start my splice. So there we go. That's pulled out of there, lovely. Just going to take it down a little bit more. Always remember as well, guys, pull it down so there's quite a small loop, and then get something in there to open it out. So in this case, that's the Katran multi-tool. I'm going to pull it out, give it a really good pull. I mean, there's no way on God's green earth that's ever going. So we've got a bit of a tag end there, but that's actually quite handy because that will enable us to have a look at the length of our splice. So what have we got? Now you can see there, hopefully, that is exactly 60 mil. One thing I will say, I used the hook of the multi-tool to create the loop, so I've actually got quite a small loop. I like that personally, but don't ignore, if you've got a multi-tool, don't ignore this bit. So if I would have pushed that bit in to create my loop, what would have happened is we'd have ended up with less of a tag end and a slightly bigger loop, but still we would have ended up with, probably ended up with about a, you know, to cut hairs, probably about a 58 mil, you know, between 55 and 60 mil splice. So yeah, that's Raptor. As you can see, it's a lovely material. But please bear in mind, anything you do, you know, it's only as strong as its weakest part. With splicing materials, the weakest part is the splice. We've seen people recently with splices this sort of size, and whilst you might get away with it once or twice, for crying out loud, please don't do it, because the one time it's going to go on you will be when you've got that fish of a lifetime on the end. So yeah, really hope that helps, guys. It's a great material, and that's how to splice it.